You don't think that there is an objective right or wrong?
No, that's why I asked you twice to demonstrate that it does actually exist. Where can I find it?
Well, I think it's built into our conscious, like,
That's certainly
I
not
don't want to get
true.
too detailed, but like,
That literally
like
can't be true because
murder and
societies have never agreed ever as to what right and wrong behavior is. For a long time, people
I would
thought
say
that
like
it was
torture and
okay
rape
to
and like
kidnap women.
child trafficking,
Those are all things that
all
God
these horrible
does. Your God
things.
does that in the Bible. Yeah, he
No,
does.
he does not. He doesn't child
He
traffic,
does.
dude, in the
Numbers
Bible.
31. Have you read it? All right, let's get our next guest is going to be Witty Noggins into the discussions. How you doing, Witty?
Hey, doing good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for asking. Witty, are you at least 18 and do you believe in some kind of a God?
I'm 34,
I'm
and I do believe
34
in
and I
God.
do
Yeah,
believe
I
in
believe in
God. Yeah, I believe in
Jesus.
Jesus. Cool. What would be the most compelling evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
Um,
Um,
well, I would
well, I
say
would
the
say
Abrahamic
the Abrahamic
religions, in my
religions,
opinion,
in
have
my
probably the
opinion,
most
have probably the most
plausible
plausible
God,
God,
just in my view,
just in
compared to
my
the
view
other
compared to the other
religions. And then
religions.
when you get into
And then when you get
that,
into
I would
that, I
say
would say
there was something about
there was something
Jesus,
about
right?
Jesus,
I
right?
mean,
I mean,
he seems
he
to be the most
seems to be
famous
the most
person of
famous
all
person of
time.
all
2,000
time.
years later,
Hold on, people are
people are.
saying that there's an echo again. Let me see
Oh,
what's going on here. Why would there be an echo?
maybe because you're like
Maybe
flying
because
through
you're like
space
flying
right
through
now. I don't
space
know.
right now. I don't know.
I was gonna say the fact that the universe.
All right, 1 second. I apologize for that. I apologize for that. I think I know what the problem is.
Yeah, I don't hear an echo through this window.
Yeah, I think it should be good now. I had two audio sources running at the same time by accident. We should be good to go now. Everyone, let me know if the echo is fixed. It's going to take about 23 seconds for the chat to catch up, though. I apologize. There's like a 23 to 25-second delay on the latency for the feed. All right, we should be good now. That's my fault, friends. I apologize. I had an extra audio source turned on that I forgot to turn off before I started to stream. That's my bad. All right, Witty Noggins, we're back at it again. So Witty, where do we leave off?
Why I believe what I
Right,
believe.
yeah. So
Um,
you're a Christian, and so what would be like what's the thing that convinces you that Christianity is true, and should it convince me?
well, for example, let's say that the biblical narrative is true, right? You got God, and then you got an adversary, Satan. Okay. Um, there's a lot of different routes I could go with this, but just for me personally, it seems obvious there was something with Jesus, right?
Like what?
He had like, he had like a 3 year ministry where he performed miracles. Um, he claimed to be,
So,
he made claims to be, timeless and divine,
but
and
why is any of that special? Like, there's lots of miracle workers
well,
from the time period.
well, sure. But he's the only one that claimed that he could give everlasting
So,
life, and 2,000 years
yeah, but
later,
he never did it. That's the problem, right? Making the claim is useless unless you do it.
well, if you mean everlasting life, as in you'll never age and live on the earth forever, then he didn't do
Yeah. Well,
that. But
what
spiritually speaking,
what did
right?
he
Like,
do to demonstrate that he's going to give
mhm,
people everlasting life? Because
he lived by
I don't
all the
see.
613 Levitical
Well, first of all, he
laws.
certainly didn't do that, but that's not remotely related to what we're talking about, right? Why would I believe that
Okay.
Jesus is giving other human beings everlasting life when people are still dying at the same rate they always have?
Well, he doesn't mean everlasting life as in you won't ever age and depart from this earth. He means everlasting life in eternity, right? So
Right, but what's the
um,
evidence of that truthfulness? Like, making the claim is a
I'm
useless
just telling
claim.
you what he claims, right? So I think it's different than the other religions, where the other
Yeah,
religions,
but Witty,
they're
just pay attention. No one's asking what's
sure, sure.
unique about Christianity. I'm asking what makes it true.
Yeah, well, what makes Christianity true? Um, well, I guess it'd be different for everyone, right? Like my view would be different. I think I'm sure you're aware of like Dr. Craig's, arguments for God. Um, his like his five arguments, like the cosmological, fine-tuning, moral, objective.
Oh,
Are you gonna run one of the arguments or what?
Yeah, the cosmological. I mean, basically, God's the best explanation of the origin of the universe. He's the best explanation for the fine-tuning for intelligent
What makes him the
life.
best
And
explanation?
then, well, because if God or something didn't create everything, then what's the other option?
Existed forever, which seems to be in line with science and logic.
Eternal universe.
Yep.
Okay. But it logically, I don't think it makes sense because the observable universe is finite in the past, if I'm not
No.
mistaken, right? The unobservable universe.
Why would I believe that the unobservable or that the observable universe once didn't exist?
Well, I'm saying the observable universe is expanding.
I agree.
And so, if it's expanding and you put that in reverse, if if it's contracting infinitely, then that seems like a contradiction or a fallacy.
I didn't say it
right?
was doing that infinitely,
Okay.
so I'm not sure where you got that from. Why would I believe that?
Well,
Like,
I think you're gonna
if you
have like a
throw a
universe that's
rock
eternal.
into a pond, the ripples come out from the center point, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and then if you reverse that, the ripples all go back into the center, right?
They would.
Did
Yeah.
the pond not exist before the ripples came out?
Well, sure, but I don't know if that analogy is
It's a
accurate.
great analogy
to be
because,
honest.
like, you don't have a good argument to demonstrate that before the expansion of the universe, there was nothing. The reality is there's 100 other configurations the universe could have been in before the current expansion. It could be an
Sure.
endless cycle. Back in like the early 2000s, I think they used to refer to it as rebound theory or cyclical universe. I think now the common terminology is Big Bang, Big Crunch, but I fail to see why this is not a more viable solution than a magic man in the sky that we have no evidence for.
Well, I wouldn't say a magic man in the sky. I would say it's the same thing as the universe idea that there's some kind of eternal cause, right? Everything that begins has a cause. So, to say that the universe
Right, but
has just always been around and
but
then created within
but you
itself.
keep going back to the same
everything.
empty bar. What's the evidence that it once didn't exist and needed to be coming into existence?
Well, I mean, it depends what theory you go with, right? Like, according to the Big Bang model, time, space, matter, and energy all came into being at a time, like a
No,
specific
it
time.
certainly did not. That is not the Big Bang model. Big Bang model doesn't say there was nothing and then it poof something. That's not Big Bang. Big Bang says
I'm not saying nothing. I'm saying something outside of time and space
that's not,
had to create time and
no.
space if there was a beginning.
The Big Bang is an explanation for the expansion of the universe. It's not an explanation of what was before the expansion.
Okay, I guess in simpler terms, I think that something can't come from nothing.
I agree.
Therefore,
I don't think there was ever nothing.
Okay, me neither.
Okay, so
right?
you can't get something from nothing, therefore there was never nothing, therefore no need for a god.
Well, no, I think therefore God seems to be the only option.
Why? If the universe always existed, why in the world do we need a god to create it?
Right. Well, that's where
this is where the God of the gaps argument just isn't good, right? So what you're suggesting is you think because somebody told you, right? Not an actual scientist. Somebody told you
No.
that the Big Bang is the start of matter, space, and time. Therefore, something must be the cause of that. And they're saying, look, there's a gap. I'm going to stick my God into this gap. But that's silly. Not only does your God not provide the best explanation for that gap, we don't even know if that gap is there.
So do you hold to an infinite universe with an evolutionary view
Yeah, an
of
eternal universe and evolution seems
okay.
to be obviously true.
So how many years did it take in an infinite universe to get to the present time?
An infinite number.
So it took infinite years for us to get to the present?
So this is the problem you have. You're doing a category error right now. You're saying that there's a start of infinity and there's not.
Okay. Well, once again,
That's like
if we're eternal in the past, then it would take infinite years to get to where we're at now, right?
no.
Okay.
Every moment that
How?
exists is on a finite piece of the timeline. There's no
Okay.
start to infinity. You can't measure from the start of infinity, just like you can't measure to the end of infinity. There's no start or end to
Exactly.
infinities. So you can't measure from the beginning of infinity to now because it's a category error. There is no such thing as the beginning of infinity.
Right, which is where I get, I guess, kind of confused in an eternal universe, right? Um, at what point, right, in the infinite past, did creation or evolution start to begin, and how many years, you know what I mean? How many years did it take
About
for
4 billion years ago.
the okay. So from 4 billion years ago when evolution started, before that, and I mean, who created that? Like, how did that come into being
How did
from
what come into being?
the universe?
Because
Evolution
what
and
you're doing
existence.
now is just an argument from incredulity. You're just saying, I don't understand evolution, therefore God. You can't think that that's a winning
Well, I'm
argument.
just trying to get your view,
What?
I guess, because
what
I don't necessarily understand, I
evolution
guess, the
is like one of the most like tried and true like scientifically examined things of the modern era. Like the DNA evidence alone demonstrates that we all have common ancestry. Have you heard of endogenous retroviruses?
endogenous
Mhm.
retroviruses. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
So when somebody gets like a virus or some sort of foreign invader into their body, it can actually get into their DNA. It can actually splice or modify the existing person's DNA. And once it's inside your genome, it just replicates and then you pass it on to your children, right? And they're pretty easy to identify because you can see the beginning and the end of the foreign DNA, how it got spliced into the existing DNA. And we've actually, like scientists have purposely caused ERVs so they can study them in the laboratory. We're really good at identifying them. That being said, human beings, all human beings, share like 213 ERVs, which is really interesting. That means all of us came from the same stock of blood at some point in the past. That was a great thing about the Human Genome Project. Now, the funny thing is, a great majority of those ERVs we also share with the great apes, meaning we shared blood with the majority of the great apes in the past as well, because there's no other possibility for us to have like 190 something ERVs shared with great apes, unless we shared blood at one point.
Okay. Your reviews are what again? I'm sorry.
Endogenous retroviruses.
Okay. So do you think that because I mean, without his, within history, I mean, science keeps updating, and the consensus might be one way, and then science keeps evolving. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a fact, or correct me if I'm wrong, but scientifically, right, that the universe is for sure eternal, right? This is just a theory, um, right, of the universe potentially being eternal in the past,
It's a
right?
theory that has evidence in its favor, whereas the God hypothesis has no evidence. Your only evidence for the God
Well,
hypothesis is let me find a gap to stuff him in.
well, no, I mean, I think creation itself is proof of God. I mean, do you? I think that the universe had a beginning.
Prove it.
Um, eh,
Demonstrate that the universe once
well,
didn't exist and that a God created it.
well, I'm a truth seeker, right? Like I'm open to being wrong, but I'm just saying if I'm going off just being logical and plausible, like I think that a being that was outside time and space creating everything, with the
Right, but
mathematics
I'm
required
asking
for us to have intelligent life,
what's the
um, I-
evidence that would demonstrate that such a being existed and that it did what you're suggesting it did?
well, I mean, what's the evidence of a painting on the wall having a painter, right? I would say the painting, like I think the universe
But
itself.
do we know how
um,
paintings come into being?
Well, that's what, everything that begins has a
Right, but do
cause, right?
we
So
have
if the universe
evidence
did
of how
begin,
paintings come into being? Okay,
sure,
and we know that paintings
and
come
everything
into
else that comes into being.
we know that paintings come into being because we know what painters do and we watch them do it, right? So, can you distinguish between a painting and a mud puddle?
Yeah, I mean, of course I
What's the
can, but
what's
if
the
let me
difference
ask you,
between a
if
painting and a mud puddle?
okay, so a painting was done by a painter, a mud puddle is more of a natural thing that
Okay,
happens through
so
nature,
one
right?
is essentially self-generating and one is the cause of biological entities creating it, right?
Sure. I mean, do you think
Okay,
it's impossible for?
so what
Uh,
looking out at the universe, why would I say that the
mhm.
universe is a painting and not a mud puddle?
Well, sure. Either way, if it's a painting or a mud puddle, I mean, who created the mud or the puddle,
It always
or the
the universe
mathematics of
always
physics?
existed. We already covered this, Witty. Like you
Well, that's a
before you
theory.
can go to there was once no universe and then poof universe because my God, you need to
Well,
demonstrate
because it's
you
expanding.
need to demonstrate that that would be the case. We already addressed the expansion of the universe. I think you were
Uh,
here for that part of the conversation, weren't you?
Well, that's what it says in the Bible.
well, yeah, but once again, right? Like, let me ask you this: if there was a beginning to the universe, would that be proof that there is some kind of being or
No,
created
it still
cause?
wouldn't. Even if you
Okay.
could demonstrate that the universe there was once nothing and then there was material, time and space, that still wouldn't demonstrate that it came from a god, especially not the biblical God. Like it could just be a
When I say
naturalistic
God,
phenomenon. It could just be something that happens naturally because of quantum fields. Quantum fields can in fact produce material.
right? But where did all these come from? All this energy and
It's
these frequent,
always
and these,
existed. Matter
right?
and energy
Right, it
can't
just
be
always
created or
existed.
destroyed. Again, there's no science on your side here. There's none.
I would disagree. I
Then
would
name it.
disagree.
Name the
I
science.
think science
Name the
explains.
science
I
that
think
agrees
science
with you.
explains God's design. And science isn't going to explain. You know
Witty,
what came. Hold on.
Woody, name the science. I've been waiting this entire time for you to give one piece of evidence that agrees with your
I'm
position.
trying to explain
I have
science.
yet to hear it
Yeah,
yet.
science just explains the design and how it works. It doesn't explain. It doesn't explain how before, like the chicken or the egg, what came first, right? It explains how a chicken has an egg and then a seed, produces a tree, right? It doesn't tell you how they all came here
It
initially in the
it
beginning.
does. Yes, science literally does do that. So what I'm asking for is find me a piece of science, a piece of evidence, or a piece
Uh,
of logical thought that would lead me to conclude that what you believe is true because I haven't heard it yet. The only thing I've heard so far is you don't like science, therefore God.
oh, I like
Okay, then
science
name
for
some
sure.
science that will support your theory.
Everything that begins has a
Again,
cause.
you have no way to demonstrate that it began. What's the evidence that the
Okay,
universe
what's the
began?
evidence that it didn't begin?
I just don't. This is crazy. Okay, it's like
Oh, I'm
we're in a
sorry.
miracle round now. Okay, number one, you can't
Okay,
get
so let's
something
get to a
from
different point
nothing.
if
We
we need
have
to.
something, therefore
Okay.
nothing. Number two, matter and energy can't be created nor destroyed. I have no reason to believe that there was ever such a thing as nothing. And I know that the universe exists. So this is the starting point, right?
Right,
So
right.
I know for a fact that the universe exists, right? So for me to believe that the universe once didn't exist, I need some kind of logical argument or scientific fact that would lead me to believe that the universe once did not exist.
Right. Once again, I mean, and we can switch to it. I got a couple other points if we if we don't link up here on this. All right. So once again, right, like the way and look, you might have a lot more understanding within the scientific community and stuff with the updated whatever than I do. I'm just saying more of like from a philosophical point, right? Um, like even if the universe did have a beginning and wasn't here, there would have to be something, and it's like something outside of time and space, right? Or some kind of cause in a different
How do
realm
you have a
that would
cause and
have
effect outside of
initiated
time?
this. Right. What if something would have to be timeless and
No. How do
spaceless
you
and
have a cause and effect without time? Time is the progression of events. There's no cause and effect outside of
right,
time.
right? Because time to create something it predates, right? So you'd have to
So time
have some kind of form
must
of time,
always exist.
right? Sure. So,
Okay.
let's say hypothetically, an
And
eternal being,
do you believe
right,
that
in an eternal
Einstein
state.
is correct when he says that space-time is a continuum?
Um, it's been a minute. Like the theory of relativity, for example. The faster you go towards light, right, then the slower time
No,
moves.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Right.
about space-time. Do you are you
Hmm.
of the opinion that science is correct when it says that space and time are a web, a continuum? They're interlinked.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then what that
I would
means is
agree with
that
that.
space and time always existed. Now we're getting even further.
Okay, but let me ask you something. Is this impossible,
Is
right?
what impossible?
That an eternal being outside of time, okay, that's in an eternal state, like the speed of light, right?
The speed of
Let's
light
say,
is
for
not in
example.
an eternal state.
Oh, I'm just trying to, or let's say in a state where there is no aging, there is no time, right? Eternal. That being couldn't create
No,
the universe and with
it couldn't do
time,
anything.
something
You
outside of
can't
time.
do anything without time. Without time, there's no progression of events.
But an eternal universe could create something within itself.
The universe always existed, which means time always existed. The universe doesn't create
Right. Well, once
itself, it just always existed. The same way you think your
it
God
just
always
always
existed. The
existed.
difference is I know the universe exists. You have no reason to believe your God exists.
I do actually. Let's go to a different point
I've
real quick.
yet to hear one argument for why your God exists. The best you've got so
Okay.
far
Well, let's go.
is God of the gaps.
Mhm.
Is God of the gaps all you got?
Well, I'm saying there's a God that's eternal. You're saying there's a universe that's
Prove
eternal
it.
because
I know what you
I mean I can say the
believe.
same thing to you. I
Woody,
mean,
restating
I
what you believe is not an argument. I need to hear the argument that demonstrates what you're saying is true.
right. Once again, I don't want to go. Can we switch to a different question real quick? Because once again, I think your view of the universe being eternal, my view of God being eternal, okay, is very similar actually. Um, you're talking about two eternal states, just different views on what that is, right? So, um, my other one would be,
Woody, you know that none of this
aside
gets
from the
you to
fine.
Christianity either, right?
Well, if you can get to an agnostic or a theist view, or at least open to that, then you can get to, there's no reason to debate denominations and,
No,
which, if you don't even
no,
believe in
none of
God, right?
this. None of this gets you to Christianity. Christianity's dead in the water. It's false no matter what you're doing here with your God of the gaps argument.
Okay, so let's go to the like moral objectives. I mean, that's a, you don't like, okay, I don't know why you're laughing.
Okay, demonstrate that objective morals exist.
Okay, well, if I feel like God is the best explanation for a standard of right and wrong, right? Otherwise, it's
I don't
subjective,
believe
and
there is
people
a
just decide
standard.
what's right and wrong.
Demonstrate that the standard exists.
You don't think that there is an objective right or wrong?
No, that's why I asked you twice to demonstrate that it does actually exist. Where can I find it?
Well, I think it's built into our conscious. Like
That's certainly
I
not
don't want to get
true.
too detailed, but like
That literally
like
can't be true because societies have
murder
never agreed ever as to what right and wrong behavior is. For a long time, people
I would
thought
say
that
like
it was
torture and
okay
rape
to
and like
kidnap women.
child trafficking.
Those are all things that
All
God
these horrible
does. Your God
things.
does that in the Bible. Yeah, he
No,
does.
he does not. He doesn't child
He
traffic,
does.
dude. In the
Numbers
Bible.
31. Have you read it?
Well, it's been a minute since I read Numbers, but we can pull it up.
Yeah, Numbers
And
31 is a wild one. So let me show you what happens in Numbers 31. He does exactly the thing that you said is like immoral. Says they did battle against Midian as the Lord had commanded Moses, and killed every male. They killed the kings of Midian. Then they list the names of the kings. Says the Israelites took the women of Midian and their little ones captive, and they plundered all their cattle, their flocks, and all of their goods. Okay, so they went and they despoiled all these towns and executed all the men and kidnapped the women and the children. Says in verse 12, then they brought the captives and the plunder and the spoil to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the Israelites at the camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan opposite of Jericho. Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the congregation went to meet them outside the camp. Moses became angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands, commanders of hundreds who have come from service of war. Moses said, have you allowed all the women to live? These women here, on Balaam's advice, made the Israelites act treacherously against the Lord in the affair of Peor, so that the plague came among the congregation of the Lord. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones. This is in Hebrew, hataf, just referring to children. All right, it says, kill every male among the children, and kill every woman who has known a man by sleeping with him. Okay, now that means the women and the children are going to get murdered. Says, but all the young girls, little girls, children girls, who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves. So God
okay,
and
so
Moses distribute all
sure.
these little virgin girls among the warriors, and some of them to the priests and other people who work in service.
So okay, so if and here's what the answer would be. I'm not an Old Testament scholar. I would love to go to like any Jesus or New Testament
Yeah,
verses and talk about
I
that.
would
But
run away from
with
this
this,
too. Yeah.
well, no, I'm not running away. I mean, this would be the answer. Okay, is if you just read that by itself, yeah. I mean, it looks horrible, but if God did warn these
But
people for hundreds and hundreds of
is it
years,
horrible?
and hold on. If God did warn these people, okay, for hundreds and hundreds of years, these people
He didn't
that they infiltrated were murdering and raping, and they're horrible for society.
None of that
Okay,
happened. Were
then
you listening to the passage? He told you
Midianites.
why he wanted them
Hmm.
killed. Says they did battle against Midian as the Lord commanded Moses and killed every male. They did this because of what happened at Peor. Do you remember that incident? It's in the,
Peor was years. Well, was
when they
that?
were camped outside of Midian in Moab. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the women enticed the Israelites to worship their gods and to
Okay.
engage in foreign activities, maybe of
Gotcha.
the illicit variety. That being said, that's why they're getting murdered, because some women participated in a bad act. Not the children. Children didn't do anything
Okay.
wrong. Doesn't even say anything about the men.
Sure.
The men here aren't declared to have done anything wrong either.
Okay. Well, once again, just hypothetically, rock with me for a second. All right. Um, if these kids were going to grow up and be just as wicked and evil as their parents
Wait,
and their parents' parents,
demonstrate
and go on,
that their parents were evil.
okay. If God did, take the lives of these kids, and then they ended up going to heaven because they were children, right? And it says that people are judged, off what they know. Kids are innocent, um, and so according to the biblical view, right? Like children and people that um, are too young, right? That don't have the option to choose right or wrong, are saved. Um, and so if these kids were going to grow up to be monsters and be wicked, just like their parents were, then that would be actually merciful and a
To be
good thing to do.
clear, it's okay to
Um,
rape little children, girls, as long as like
no, of course
they
not,
don't
bro.
grow up
No, of course
to
not.
be
But in your
pagans.
worldview,
Okay, so
in your
so when
worldview,
when they
who's to
when they
say it's
took these
not?
little virgin girls and distributed them
Uh-huh.
among the warriors, what makes that good? I didn't. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
not
once
saying
again, dude.
anything about the people who died. Like the fact that they genocided these people, that's horrible. We're talking about the child trafficking right now. That's the topic you brought up.
And what should they do with these children?
Not marry them, not distribute them as war brides. Maybe how about they adopt them and turn them into family members? Maybe you don't genocide their entire family.
Well, once again, man, I'm like I said, there's some guys out here, some scholars, Frank Turek, a lot of these guys that explain this really
No, he
well.
does not. Turek is a
Um,
joke.
okay, well,
I didn't
I'm not sure. I've seen some good
I
videos
didn't
of
find
his.
Frank Turk to be convincing even when I was a Christian. I read his books way back when I was like 19, and he had dog shit arguments even when I was a Christian. I was embarrassed to
Really?
even read his stuff in public.
Are you familiar with Dr. Craig's work at all? You don't
William
like him
Lane
either?
Craig, I think his arguments are just as
Yes,
bad.
sir.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, he doubles down. His argument is almost identical to the argument you're making. It's okay to genocide, to do these horrific things, as long as the people doing them upset the God that you believe in. So you started this.
No.
Remember, Woody, we got here because you were demonstrating to me that objective morals exist. And you were trying to say that, well, child trafficking
Right, but
is objectively
no,
immoral. Now I'm showing
and you would
you
agree with
a
that,
passage in
right?
the
But you're
Bible
trying
where
to.
God is
Okay.
doing something that's objectively immoral.
Okay. Well, but there's also a lot of context that's going on with this, and I don't know. I don't know what's going
Okay,
on
so you take it back.
in
You take
numbers, bro.
back your
To be honest
original
with you,
claim that child
like don't take.
trafficking is objectively immoral.
No, of course it's immoral, and that's what I'm saying. So let's get away from this numbers real quick, okay, and just rock with me. God, if He is perfect and holy, okay, is the best standard for what's right and wrong. You know what I mean? If there is no God, then there's no objective right and wrong. Which, in your worldview, you could be subjective. So who's to say that trafficking kids is wrong?
Right. So I just want to make sure we're
You,
clear. In your
okay.
worldview, is trafficking children objectively wrong or no?
Yes, of course it
Oh,
is.
okay. Was it wrong when God did it?
Well, once again, right? Like I don't. I think you're
That was a
misinterpreting
yes or
God, what
yes or
God
no
did.
question.
Okay.
Was it right or
I don't think
wrong
God didn't do that in the
when
way
God
that
had the Israelites
you're
do
making
it?
it sound. But once again, right? You're straw man, and
I'm not
you're trying
straw
to make it
manning
seem like God
anything.
did that.
In the passage, God instructs them to distribute the women to the warriors.
Well, once again, like I'd have to do some research on that. Like I'm not an Old
It
Testament scholar. Can you
says
show me
in
anything
verse
in the New Testament with
25, the Lord
Jesus?
spoke to Moses, saying, You and Eleazar, the priests and the heads of the ancestral houses of the congregation, make an inventory of the plunder captured, both human and animal. Divide the plunder into two parts between the warriors who went out to battle and all the congregation. The little virgin girls were plundered that got divided according to God's word.
Gotcha. Yeah. Once again, if you're in numbers still, I'm not sure. I'd have to get up the original language too and check it out and see what it says and do
That's
some research. Like I said,
that's not going to
I'm
help you
not. I'm not
anymore.
an Old Testament.
You don't know Hebrew.
Can you show me anything in the New Testament with Jesus that shows any kind of
Is Jesus
similarities to
is
this?
Jesus God?
He's the Son of God, yeah, and he's
But
divine in nature,
is
so
he
he is
God?
God. God the
Is
Son.
Jesus always in alignment with God the Father?
Correct.
So Jesus was in alignment.
And that's what I'm
So
saying.
Jesus was in alignment with God in Numbers 31.
Well, if you're going to take a 5,000-year-old library and then pick up, a couple, I mean, I get how it sounds, but once again, I've been through these. It's been a while, right? But I've come across quite a few people that have explained
So
these.
if Jesus and the
Um,
Father are one, and the Father is okay with distributing little virgin girls as spoils of war, that means Jesus is okay with it too. So running away to Jesus is not going to help you here.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to say that Jesus said if you want to know the Father, like he's the best way for us to understand God, where you're trying to take a 4,000-year-old text and then say this is God's character, where yeah, there was things that happened in the Old Testament. The whole point was Jesus was predestined to come to bring salvation to everybody.
Yeah, that
So
didn't happen either, and
um
that's a huge pivot. I'm not going to let you do it. So right now we're still
okay.
talking about the objective morals that you think exist. You started by
Right.
saying
So
that it's
once again,
objectively moral. I'm sorry, it's objectively immoral to traffic kids. Now
right.
we see, in fact, that God does traffic children. So is there an
Well, no,
is there
you're
something else that we
once
would
again,
claim is
on-
objectively immoral?
once again, once again, brother, if God isn't a standard for what's right and wrong, and let's take that out of it, let's just go with Jesus because there's nothing with
What do
Jesus
you,
that's going to show
what do you,
anything like
I
that.
don't know
Okay,
what you're,
but just rock with me for a second, bro. Either God is a
Witty,
standard or
I'm,
it's subjective,
Witty,
right?
you'll,
You're
hold,
telling me that my God is traffic. Okay, I'm just trying to get a point across here, right? If it's not objective, it's subjective, and then anyone can say
Witty,
what's right or
I will
wrong.
not let you pivot until you finish this discussion. Is it objectively right or wrong to traffic children?
Bro, for the fifth time, of course not.
Okay.
And that was my
So
example I gave
then
you.
tell
And
me,
now you're gonna
then tell me
go to
how it
the
was,
verse in
tell me
Numbers.
how it was okay when God did it.
Uh huh. Right. And once again, okay, you'd have to go and you'd have to check out like a scholar, somebody that's educated in
Witty,
those
I already
texts to
am.
get an
Witty, I
answer.
already am. I have 2 degrees in
Okay.
this field of study. That's why I know this passage exists and you don't. So I'm asking you to give an explanation from your brain. I already know what the scholars say.
Okay. So let's just take. Can you just take that verse out of it for a moment and
No.
just okay. All right. So if I told you I believe in God, but I wasn't specific. You didn't have
So
the book of
how
Numbers.
is it
Can you understand
how
that?
is it
Hmm.
objectively immoral to traffic children, but it's okay when God does it?
Right. Once again, he doesn't do it like the way you're making it
What
sound like he
what did he
does.
do? What were the warriors
I know you can read the sentence or two again, but
doing with little virgin girls?
like I said, I'd have to go back and I'd have to look at the original language and the context and see what was
Do
going
you
on
do you know
myself.
Hebrew,
And
Witty?
I got well, I know the website to go to
But do
translate
you
it.
know Hebrew?
What ancient Hebrew? Okay, well, even if you do and I don't, it would take me a little longer to go and research the original language
No, it
to
wouldn't,
what it
noggins.
means.
Let
But
me tell you why going to like Blue Letter Bible isn't the same as knowing the original language, because you actually have to know how grammar works. You can't just go and say, "Oh, here's a word and here it is in the dictionary, therefore I need it to mean whatever I need it to mean." It's not how language works. You need to
mm-hmm,
know how grammar works. You need to know how to conjugate verbs, decline nouns. You need to know how to link words together appropriately so you know that there's an antecedent here that goes to something over here. Like you actually need to understand the language before you try dabbling in like retranslating what the guy with the PhD did. Just so we're clear, the guy who translated the passage we read has a PhD. He's not some schmuck.
yeah, I mean, well, sure. I mean, yeah, they're taking the original manuscripts and they're translating them. I mean, I get
So
that.
why do you think
But like,
you're going
what?
to open up a Strong's concordance and do a better translation than the guy with the PhD that spent his life studying this? Why do you think you're the guy for that?
I'm not saying I'm the guy for that, but I'm saying like if you get into the lexicon and like the original like languages and I can look it up and see what they mean. They have a very distinct and like detailed language, right? So it's a lot different than English for sure. I agree with you. They have a lot more words for
A lot
things,
less in
right, than
Hebrew.
we do. A lot less words for
Yeah.
things than English.
Yeah, by a long shot.
I gotcha. Well, I know that it has like specific, when it says God throughout, our English translations, they have a lot of different specifics sometimes for that. Love, for example, right in the Greek, it's got 5 different They got like 5 different
Greek and Hebrew are different
words for
languages.
love. I understand Koine Greek and ancient Hebrew are different, but
So,
anyways, like I said,
so you still
if
haven't
you want
actually
to,
addressed the problem, right? The
well,
problem that we
once
have
again,
here,
you're just deflecting
the problem
it.
we
You're
have
telling
here
me,
is
well, how
that
do you
in the
say it's
Bible,
wrong? And then your God did this.
God does something that you think is objectively immoral, unless you can go into the book and explain how he didn't do it, or explain how it's sometimes objectively moral.
Okay, or if I had some time and I could do some research, maybe, okay, maybe it's just possible that the way you're interpreting and spelling this out right now isn't this monster, horrible
I
God.
didn't
There was
interpret
some
it. I
kind of,
read it to you.
okay. And was that the original ancient language?
It
I
was
mean,
it was in English. If I read it to you in Hebrew, you
exactly.
wouldn't know it, Witty.
Okay, but once again, what you said in English, you were just telling me I couldn't read it in English and understand it
To be
unless I had a,
to be clear, Witty,
a deep understanding in
the
Hebrew.
guy who translated it into English has a PhD
Sure.
who spent his life studying Hebrew and
Okay.
other Semitic languages. You're not going to
So,
uncover some hidden secret by going to the Strong's
mm,
Concordance. The guy with the PhD translated it correctly. I know because I can read Hebrew, and there's nothing in here that would lead me to believe that he goofed. And even at that,
okay, but there's a lot of translation as
even
well, right?
even
So
at
sometimes it is.
that, I'm not qualified to correct a guy with a PhD.
Well, I'm not trying to correct anyone. I was literally just trying to make a point that if there is no God and there is no standard for what's right and wrong, then it's
Yeah, I would
subjective, and then
pivot
people
too.
just get to
Pivot,
decide.
pivot. Again, this is
I'm
not
not
about
pivoting.
my
You're not
moral. This is
answering
not
my
about
direct
my moral
question,
system.
dude.
This conversation we're having right
You're trying to
now
prove me wrong by a verse and
is a
numbers, and
demonstration of what you think objective morals are, right? So the reality is
I'm saying we agree,
you don't
right?
actually
We agree
believe in objective
that
morals. You believe in subjective morals. You just think that morals are subject to the mind of God, not to the mind of men.
I'm saying he's the one that determines what's right and wrong. It's not
That's not
humans.
objective. That's subjective.
No, God is the reason we have objective truths
What do you think the
and
word
duties
objective
as
means?
humans. It's facts.
No, that's
It's a
not what that
factual.
means.
It's not subjective. Is your opinion,
No,
okay? And objective truth is objective truth, whether you subjectively think it's not,
you're
right?
getting close. Okay. So subjective means it's mind dependent. Objective means it's mind independent. And as it turns out, your God has a mind. So if your morals come from God's mind, that makes it subject. It's subject to God's mind. It's subjective. So you
Okay,
don't
but if
believe in
God,
objective morals, you believe in subjective morals, and you believe that the highest tier of subjective morals is whatever my God says. So then
what?
is
No, I don't
disobedience
actually.
to your God's commands always bad?
Well, once again, I mean, what's bad? What does that mean? I mean, in your view, I mean, how do you look at right and wrong, and how do you
You
determine
listen,
what's
you
good
can
and
use your
evil?
definition of bad. Is disobedience to God bad?
Yeah,
Is it always bad?
sure. Well, that's literally the definition of bad is not doing right.
Okay, so if God said, Witty, I need you to execute some babies, it would be right to do what he says?
Right. Once again, this is a
That's a
straw
yes
man.
or
You're
no,
trying to
Witty.
use this. Once again, that
It's
wouldn't
a yes or
be
no, Witty.
a
If
wholly
God
just.
told you to execute babies, would it be wrong to disobey?
Right. Once again, dude, this is not a holy, righteous God you're talking about. Okay. You're using, like I said, you're using one story in the Old Testament, and you're trying to use this as your
Oh no,
trump card.
there's a dozen of them, Witty.
So, can you please
There's a
show me something,
dozen
like I said,
stories
in the New
just like
Testament
this,
with
Witty.
Jesus?
So your God
Do you
commands
have
the
anything with
killings of
Jesus?
babies all the time. And I mean, I'm not going to let you pivot. I don't know if you've been here before, but I never let my guests pivot. So
I'm not
so
trying to
you're in
pivot.
this discussion
I'm
and
trying to
you're
stay
stuck
on
in this
this.
discussion. You're not going to run away from it and you're not going to
It's
pivot.
cool.
So
I'm not running,
the
bro.
question
I'm
is,
trying to tell
if
you.
God told you to execute a baby, is it wrong
Bro,
to
quit asking
disobey?
me that, dude. Listen, bro. Why are you gonna
Why
like
are you scared to
if God
answer?
told you to do
Why are you terrified to answer? Just
because the
answer the
question
question.
you're
If
setting,
God
first of
told you to
all,
kill a baby, would it be wrong to disobey?
Okay, so listen, dude. You're trying to ask me. Just let me speak, please.
No, the answer
I
needs to
feel
be
you.
yes or no. If God told you to
Right.
execute a baby, would it be wrong to disobey?
Which God are you talking
Your
about?
God.
Okay, so if a holy and good God asked me to do evil and wicked things, how would I
I
respond? Is
asked
what you're asking
you
me, right?
if your God told you to kill a baby, would it be wrong to disobey it?
I mean, if yeah, because if okay, just let me explain real quick.
Nope.
If
It's a
the
yes or
good and
no.
right, okay. Well, if you're not gonna like, let me go back and forth. I mean, you're gonna just have
It's
me
a
say
yes or
yes, and then
no
you're gonna go to
question.
something else and try to make.
It's a yes or no
Yeah, I know
question.
it is,
So why can't you
but
say
once
yes or
again, I'm not
no?
gonna just answer
How
it
come you're not capable of
because I
doing
don't.
it?
Because you're asking me if a good and righteous God who asked you to do an evil and wicked thing told you to do it, would you do it? It's wrong if you don't do
He
it, but
he
it
tells you to do it in 1 Samuel 15:3. He just told you to do it in Numbers 31.
okay. Once again, if you
Jesus
got
himself
anything with
recommends doing
Jesus,
it in Mark chapter 7. And again, I've already told you,
let's do that. Let's go to Mark
if
7.
Jesus is God, that means Jesus is always in accordance with God the Father, which means everything he did in the Old Testament is stuff that Jesus approved. You're never going to run away from this argument by trying to say, but Jesus, that doesn't
Right.
solve the problem. So I asked you
Well,
a
the difference
logical
is this, though.
problem about your
Yes,
moral
I know you did.
system. I'm not asking you a
Sure.
theological question. I'm asking you a logical question about your moral system. In your moral system, would it be wrong to disobey God if he told you to kill a baby?
Okay. Well, once again, if you're
Noggins,
like
you're
you're
going to
asking
answer the
me if a good
question, or
God,
I'll ask it 100 times. This is what's going to happen. You're going to answer the question, or
right,
you're going to run away
right.
from this live stream. I will not let
I'm
you
not running
pivot.
away.
You're going to answer the question. I'm
I'm
going
trying.
to ask you 400 times until you do.
Right.
And every time you refuse to answer,
I've already
you're
answered your
admitting
question,
that you're
bro.
a coward. So, yes or no? If
No,
God
I'm not.
told you to
You
kill a
won't get.
baby, would it be
See,
wrong
you won't
to
have it.
disobey?
All right, bro. Listen, if you're just gonna ask me ridiculous questions and not let me
It's
like
not
have
a
a decent
ridiculous
conversation with
question.
you, bro, you're asking me if a good and holy God asked you to do something
He
horrible and
does
wrong.
it.
Like the only reason God would ask
It's
you to
not
do
wrong if
something like
God tells
that
you
is
to
for
do
a
it.
good and right. So in the old covenant, in the Old
It doesn't
Testament,
it doesn't
it was
matter.
different than
Objective
it is now,
morals don't
dude.
change.
Right.
First
But once
Samuel
again, there would have been a
15:3, he
good
says,
and bigger
"Go and attack
purpose for taking
Amalek and
back.
utterly destroy all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel
Okay, is it
and
wrong for us to
donkey."
bomb
So
terrorist groups?
again, that's a pivot.
Is it
It's
wrong
a
for
pivot
us?
that I won't let you do.
It's
It's a
not.
pivot that I
It
won't
could be
let
the
you
same
do.
thing as
I'm
this,
asking
dude.
you about God's commands. If God commanded you
Okay.
to kill a baby, would it be
Yes, then
wrong to
it'd be then
disobey?
yes. Yes, it would
Thank
be.
you. That's
Because
all
the
you
only
had
reason
to
he would do
say. That's
that.
all you had to say is yes,
Okay,
it would be wrong
I
if
just want to be able
God
to
told
explain
me, if
why.
God told me to kill a baby and I didn't do it, it would be wrong. Now listen, you can give your explanation
Now
after you
listen,
answer the
okay, because you're trying
question.
to make me seem like I'm a monster, and I don't appreciate that, bro.
Now,
You're being, you're not having an open dialogue with me. You're
we
trying to
are.
just
You're
make me
trying
seem
to be you're
like
trying
this
to
is
avoid the
nonsense.
actual question, and I won't let you actually do it. I'll never let you do it. Not in a
Okay,
million years. So, the next question is, if God
okay,
told you to kill 10 babies, would it be wrong to do it?
okay. All right, listen, dude. If this is like a hey, I got to answer all your questions, and we can't
You
go
don't
back
have
and
to
forth
answer all my
anymore.
questions. You have to finish this particular topic. This topic will not go away until you finish
The
the
topic
discussion.
was
The topic right now
if there
is
is.
your moral system. You don't believe in objective morals. You believe in divine command
All
theory.
right, bro. If we can't get off numbers 21 or whatever again, dude, like it's all good,
Now
bro.
I'm testing the logic of your moral system. So in your moral system, if God told you to execute 10 babies, would it be wrong to disobey?
Okay, once again, I'm not gonna keep answering
Wiggins,
these
you're
questions
going to
until I can
answer,
speak.
and that's the only thing
I'm
you're going
not.
to do.
I'm gonna
You
leave,
can
bro,
leave
because
all, you can
you're
run
not
all
having
you
an
want,
honest
but
conversation.
you're gonna either answer the question
You're
or
the
run
one
away.
running, bro. You're the one sitting here trying to be a tyrant and
I'm not being a
grandstand and
tyrant.
not let anyone.
You're running like an actual coward with
All
your
right, then
tail
let me
between your
explain
legs
my
because you don't
view.
have the mental fortitude to say yes
I'm
or
not like
no.
I
You
said,
don't have the mental fortitude to
bro.
describe your moral
Bro,
system because you know that your moral system
no,
is
I can,
is
but you won't let me.
unbelievable. I don't need you to explain your answer. I need the answer.
Yeah, but I don't care about that question. I'm not going to answer that
You
until I
are
can
going to
actually
answer it, Witty. You're going to answer, or you're going to
I'm
run
not gonna
away.
answer
You
anymore.
are
I'm not
going to
making
answer
kids.
it.
Da, 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 da.
So would
No,
it be
you're gonna keep
wrong if
acting like
God
this and not
told
get
you to
anywhere with
kill
me,
10
bro.
babies? Would it be wrong to disobey?
It says your God is imaginary. Prove me wrong, bro. I can't even explain anything. You're asking me these yes or no
Witty,
hypotheticals, and
this is
you're
your
trying to.
argument. You started on the moral
No, no, no,
argument,
no,
and
bro. This is
now
not.
you're getting what
This
you
is
asked
not
for.
my
You
argument,
brought
dog.
up the moral argument, and now you're getting pressed on it.
Nah,
I
dude.
know. Listen, I
You're
know it.
stuck on the
I know
premise.
that like your balls are
Nah,
sweaty at this point and your butthole's all
no,
puckered
it's
up.
not, bro.
But
It's
all
not.
you're doing right
It's
now
not,
is
bro.
displaying your cowardice. What you need to do is finish
I'm not the one being.
finish
Dude, I
the
already answered
argument.
your first question.
Finish the argument
Show
that you
some respect.
started. You need to show some
Okay. All
respect
right.
by actually
Okay.
engaging in the dialogue honestly and not like a coward. So it's an
But I
easy.
want to have a
It,
sophisticated conversation.
you're
I need
not
to get
capable
some
of
of the
having
background.
a sophisticated conversation until you answer my questions.
I'm not. Okay. Okay. I got
So
you. Okay.
we're
Okay.
in the middle
Okay.
of a discussion right now about your moral system, and we're not done with it. So in your
Yeah, you're
moral
like I said,
system,
you're
if God
translating right
told
now.
you to execute 10 babies, would it be wrong to disobey? And you
Dude,
can cry all you want about how you don't like the answer,
I'm not
but you're going
crying.
to
I'm just
answer.
not trying to waste
You're
any
going
time,
to
dude. Like
answer,
I told
or
you.
you're going to leave. I will not let you pivot, and I will not let you
Don't
talk
tell me
over
what to
me.
do.
What's the answer? Yes or no? Yes or no? What's the answer?
Okay,
Yes or
once again, I'm
no?
not gonna answer that. If you want to move on past
Nope,
this,
we're
we can.
not
If not,
moving
I'm just
past
gonna leave
this. Won't
because
happen.
that's
Never gonna
cool,
happen.
man.
Okay, so
You won't.
ask. So strike number 10.
Here was the initial
So
point, dude.
I'll ask it
Because
again.
you
In
want to
your
use
worldview,
numbers
if
as your
God
trump
told you to
card. You want
kill
to use
10 babies, would it be wrong to disobey God?
That wasn't even the
Strike
point. The
number
point was
2. In your worldview, if God told you to
dude.
kill
All right,
10
this one
babies,
guy. You can't even
would
have
it
a
be wrong to
conversation, bro.
disobey?
It's ridiculous. Dude, anybody can ask
Strike
you
number
yes or no
3.
questions
In
and
your
set you up,
worldview, if
dude. I ain't
God
worried
told
about
you
your
to kill
strikes.
10 babies, would it be wrong to disobey?
Not according to you, because it's
Stripe number
subjective. Who's to
4. In
say?
your worldview, if God told you to kill 10 babies, would it be wrong to disobey?
Bro, I'm not killing
Strike
10
number
babies until this would
5. In
never tell you
your
to do that,
worldview,
bro.
if God told you to kill 10 babies, would it be
Bro, we'll
wrong
get
to
to
disobey?
number 100 once again. We'll get to 100, bro.
You're
I'm trying to
you're
have
not
a
no,
back and
you're
forth
not.
with
You're
you on
trying to run away like a coward, and I won't let you do it. It'll never happen. You can cry all you want about how you don't like the question,
No,
but you're never
I'm not
gonna
crying.
pivot. It won't work here. I don't know how many live
I'm not
streams you've been on where you think that this is something that works, but it ain't gonna work here. Hey, thanks for the Ian raid. I
I'm trying to stick
appreciate
with the
that.
topic
So no, what you're doing is
and just keep
you're literally
asking the same
running.
question, bro.
You're running from
Sorry, bro.
the
Sorry, you're
current
just definitely not seeking
topic. The
truth,
current
bro.
topic
It's
which you brought up wasn't. Oh, there he goes, and he ran. I figured that was going to happen eventually. They hate it. They hate the morals of their God. They can't deal with it.